I can't believe that the Steam controller is 10 years old now. I was a student when I pre-ordered this exact unit from Amazon back in 2015, and PC gaming was a totally different place back then. Me and most of my friends were gaming either on Windows 7 or Windows 8.1. Windows 10 at that time felt like a weird and buggy mess that nobody wanted to touch with a 10-foot pole. And most PC gamers back then were playing with a keyboard and a mouse, mainly because of Microsoft, who tried to lock wireless support for Xbox One controller exclusively to Windows 10, and there was no such thing as DualShock support for PC until like 2016. By the way, both Sony and Microsoft required you to buy a separate dongle, which added to the cost of already priced accessory, and even if you would buy the controller in 2016 and install Windows 10 and jump through the hoops of connecting a wireless device to a Windows PC, you would still face a lot of limitations in PC games, most of which were designed with a keyboard in mind, not with a gamepad. And that's why Steam controller was such a big deal for the whole gaming community on PC. It was released back in 2015, it supported all operating systems including Windows 7, macOS and Linux, it came with a USB dongle, and it was fully remappable thanks to the Steam Input API, so you could make it work in strategies, boomer shooters and all kinds of RPGs. This thing also made games more accessible for people with certain motor control conditions, such as cerebral palsy and ulnar tunnel syndrome, since it allowed them to tweak input layouts to their preference. For them, this controller was a game changer. It featured dual-stage triggers, a fully working gyroscope, and also two clickable grip buttons on the back. The main pro feature of the original Steam controller was its dual trackpads with haptic feedback. These trackpads replaced traditional analog sticks and offered precise customizable control for mouse-like input, making it uniquely suited for older PC games that didn't work with a controller and required a keyboard and a mouse. This feature, combined with an extensive customization menus in Steam Big Picture mode, set it apart as a versatile tool for both modern and classic PC titles. It wasn't perfect though. Setting up game-specific profiles was time-consuming, lots of titles from that era had no native support for Steam input, the controller itself felt plasticky and cheap, and the haptic feedback had a sound of a Geiger counter. Emulating mouse input on the right trackpad while maintaining the comfort of the left thumbstick allowed me to control the aim of my in-game character in a more precise manner, but the lack of second thumbstick was a huge problem back in 2015. A lot of games from that era were not able to process input from a controller and a mouse simultaneously. For example, both Skyrim and Fallout back in the day required you to restart the game client if you wanted to switch between input sources. So you had to either set up the right trackpad as a mouse emulation device and remap the left thumbstick as a WASD, or you had to use the right trackpad in a thumbstick emulation mode, which felt as a compromise, not as a best possible solution suited for the game you wanted to play. And while trackpads are genuinely good at emulating mouse, they have no physical properties of a gaming stick. The A is an analog device that produces different inputs at different angles, and B activates only in the reclined position. Mouse input felt good when this thing was set up properly, especially in the game that supports Steam input. But in any other circumstances, it could not compete with the Xbox controller in terms of convenience. Doing skateboarding tricks or piloting an aircraft or playing some other game that was designed with a traditional controller in mind, the Steam controller felt out of the place. Eventually, I grew tired of setting this thing up before playing every single new game, and then I started using it only on rare occasions when I needed to adjust the volume while I was watching movies or doing something remotely from my couch. So basically it became a glorified TV remote for the PC I'm using in my living room. But despite all that, 10 years later when I'm holding it in my hands, it evokes a really special feeling. Like, despite it never succeeded in providing a plug-and-play experience, to me it was the most influential gaming accessory that I owned in the previous decade. Even more influential than a VR headset, which I sold a year or two after I bought it. And even though I don't use Steam controller that much anymore, I still find myself playing on Steam Deck almost every day. With the release of Steam Deck, Valve has basically solved all Steam controller problems by giving us a fold-proof layout with 2 thumbsticks and 2 trackpads. The game has no controller support? Fine, I'd happily use dual trackpads to get over it. If the game doesn't support simultaneous input from a controller and a mouse, sure thing, I'm just going to beat it with dual thumbsticks. Anyone who's been using Steam Deck for long gaming sessions knows how comfortable it is to play with this exact controller layout. In most modern games, I use it the same way if I were playing with a regular gamepad. But when I need to make few frags in first-person shooters or spend some time enjoying favorite strategies of my childhood, trackpads are the way to go. Their versatility across genres is indisputable. You can adapt them to a wide variety of games without the need to dock your Steam Deck and plug in some external peripherals. And that's why I'm so confident about Steam Controller 2.0. About a month ago, Valve announced plans to release a new version of Steam Controller, which basically looks like a Steam Deck without a screen in the middle, with 2 trackpads and 2 thumbsticks. Hooray! But it's not just a new layout. Steam Controller 2.0 is supposed to be a buffed up and improved version of its predecessor. It will have Hall effect thumbsticks with capacitive touch sensors, 4 grip buttons on the back instead of 2, and it's also going to be bundled with a charging puck that doubles as a low-latency dongle. Since Valve maintains its own HAD driver for SteamOS, native Linux support is guaranteed. This, combined with the Steam Machine, is going to be huge. As a PC gamer and Linux enthusiast, I am more than excited. 2026 has a chance to become the biggest year in the history of gaming on Linux, though the only thing we don't know is the price of both Steam Machine and Steam Controller. And given the current crisis in the PC parts market, that is a bit concerning. But this is a discussion for the next year. Right now I wanna say thanks to all of you guys for your support. I didn't make a lot of videos this year, but whenever I was editing yet another YouTube short or filming myself with a Steam Deck, I felt you on the other side of the screen. Your attention gave me strength, and your comments were the fuel to my creative fire. Thanks to all of you. I promise I will return in 2026 with even more Linux related videos, and I hope I will not let you down. If you wanna stay in touch with me, please subscribe to my Telegram channel. Let me know in the comments which topics you would like to get covered on this channel in the next 12 months. And no matter where you are and what culture do you belong to, allow me to wish you a Happy New Year and Happy Holidays. This was Reluctant Anarchist, and I have nothing left to say.